Hello, YouTube. Today I'm bringing you another episode of my Collector's Talk series, and this is episode 4. I am RS Graph 281, and today I have an interesting topic for you. I'm actually really excited about this topic. I did get permission to use, I did contact the Retro VGS team, and I got permission to use some of their, prototype pictures because I didn't want to, just use them without asking because that would be kind of rude. But they said it was cool, and so I'm going to bring you some information about it. And yes, today I will be talking about a new cartridge-based game console that will be coming out hopefully in 2016. I am extremely excited for this, and I have loved the idea for a new video game system coming out. For the longest time, it's really just been the big three battling it out. The last new breakthrough console, if you don't count Ouya, which I really wouldn't because they kind of fell through in a lot of things. But the last breakthrough console to actually get a foothold in stuff and actually be be semi-successful would be the Xbox, and that came out in the sixth gen, so that was a while ago. The Ouya did come out, and I actually did end up supporting it. I didn't really like the idea of an all-digital console to begin with, but I just really wanted to support the idea of a new console by a new company, because I really love that idea. I would love more variety, and this one seems very intriguing, and I am extremely excited for this. Basically, it has everything I want in a console. So let's get right into the details. Like I said, they are aiming to release in 2016. That's their goal. And in June 2015, they will be doing their Kickstarter. It will be a Kickstarted project. I'm not sure if they will continue the project if their Kickstarter doesn't get funded, so you would have to find out about that. But I'm really hoping it gets funded because I am super excited about this idea. It's supposed to be a cartridge-based console with no online or no DLC, no microtransactions, none of that nonsense that modern gaming has. And it's one of the things that's really turned me off modern gaming, actually, is all the DLC and microtransactions. And I made a promise to myself to never buy a game with microtransactions in it because I just thought it would be kind of wasteful. And I still haven't, although I've missed out on a lot of games because of that. If this system comes out and they end up having great games, which I hope they do, I won't have to worry about it because I know there won't be any of that stuff. So that's kind of awesome. So let's get into some of the benefits and some of the cons to this system / design. The first benefit let's talk about the cartridges first, since it is a cartridge-based system. Some benefits to cartridge, I think, would be storage. If you think about it, cartridge technology has advanced really quickly ever since they started using CDs, because they switched to CDs for a number of different reasons. Number one, they were cheaper to make, and number two, I think at the time it was you could actually hold more information on the CD than you could a cartridge. That kind of changed, at least I think it did. I'm not too technologically savvy in cartridge tech, so I may be wrong about this, but if they can fit like 64 gigs onto a micro SD card, which is the size of a United States dime, which is our smallest coin if you don't live here, then I assume a normal full-size cartridge could store a vast amount of information, much more than you could on a CD or Blu-ray, which is kind of crazy to see how the tables have turned like that. At least I think it would. That's just me guessing. It might not be like that because who knows? I don't even know what goes into a cartridge. To be completely honest, I'm not a developer. So another benefit to cartridges is durability. Cartridges have an amazing durability. Like if you've ever used an old Super Nintendo or NES cartridge, you can drop those things and pick them back up. They'll work fine. There's no real issue with them. It's got a nice hard plastic shell. You don't need a case for it, although I love cases. You don't really need a case in order to have a cartridge, which is another nice thing. So, and they seem to last a lot longer than DVDs, CDs, and Blu-rays are a little bit more durable, but I feel like a cartridge would still be more durable than a Blu-ray. So, it's got a very durable medium to it. So, I'm kind of excited about that. Now, there is a con to cartridges that the biggest concern I have about the system is this con right here, and it is the cost of production for cartridges. This was like one of the main reasons why they stopped doing games on cartridge. It was really pricey. I mean, back in 1994 on the Super Nintendo, I think cartridge games were like, I think the average cart game was like $70. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was like $70. I remember seeing in like Toys R Us and stuff, they would have like $70 games. That was for like new stuff. Older stuff was cheaper, but still, adjusted for inflation, those were really expensive. Now, I don't know what they're going to do in terms of cartridges. I have a theory, though. If you look at Watermelon Games, they are an independent game developer that develops for Genesis still. They make their own cartridge shells and everything. They don't produce in large numbers, so it's not really a great example, but they're one of the very few people making their own cartridges still. So I'm assuming that it'll have a similar price. I'm hoping it'll have a similar price structure to that. I would be great if they could stick with like a $60 new game price, because that's what everyone's used to and everyone will be happy to pay that. But if they go with like Watermelon Games, I think it's like $10 more expensive for their new game, and then you add on shipping. So it's like $70 and then you add on shipping, which isn't too bad, but anything more than like $75, $80, that's pushing it to the point where you're going to be excluding part of a market that doesn't want to pay too much for video games because they don't know how they're going to play and if they're going to like them. Because the downside to not having online is you don't really have an outlet for demos, especially for a new startup system like this. Next, let's talk a little bit about the design. The design of the console itself, and now I'll be showing some pictures and stuff since I've gotten onto this point. They will be using the Jaguar molds. The company that is developing the Retro VGS will be, they acquired the old molds for the Atari Jaguar, which is really cool. So it's going to have a very similar look. I'm not sure if it's going to be exactly the same or not. Who knows? But it's going to look a lot like a Jaguar. It's going to have their own branding on it, obviously. But it's going to have a very similar look to the Jaguar. Probably going to show you a prototype photo of it. Just remember, it's a prototype. This is not the final design. This is very early stages in production. So it's all variable to change. I mean, all consoles go through prototype phases. I mean, look at the Wii U controller. The original Wii U prototype controller was a screen with two Wiimotes attached to it. So obviously it's going to look a little bit different. Another cool thing about the design that they might be going for is they said the first couple cartridges that they print maybe have like a different color. So if you get an early copy of the game, you'll get like a special colored cartridge. And there will be no way to tell if you get that special color cartridge, but because the packaging will be the same, you'll just have a different color cartridge. I think that's a really cool idea because it'll incentivize people to buy games early and help support the flow of purchases for the system and hopefully keep it alive. Because it's going to be a really big it's not going to be an issue, but it's going to be a really big hurdle to overcome. The architecture for it, now I'm not a hardware developer like I said previously, so I don't really know what this is, but I basically went through their Facebook and I took down notes and everything to try to get as much information plucked out from what they've said from their Facebook and other videos, and I'm trying to condense it all into one. But they said that their architecture that they'll be using is FPGA architecture. Not sure what that is. Some people in the comments section commented that it's used in arcade builds, so I'm assuming it's going to be something similar to like a MAME arcade. I'm not sure if that's what they're talking about or not. But the important part of it is it will have local hardware, which is excellent. Because the big downfall to the Ouya is that it was just using Android hardware. It doesn't have unique hardware for the games to run on. And a lot of basically just turned into a big emulation machine. Whereas, this is going to have its own local chipset that's unique. And they're going to hopefully have some type of program for the developers to use that's really simple and easy to get them used to that. The next part of their design choice is that it's going to be packed in with two wired USB controllers. Now the controllers you see in the picture are prototype controllers, obviously, but it's going to from what I understand, they're going to have very similar design controllers. It's going to have the twin stick design with a more retro gamepad underneath, sort of similar to the Wii U. They are going to have their own brand controller they're working with, so it's going to have their branding on it. It's not going to be like just a Wii U controller packed in, like some of those Android micro consoles that come with 360 controllers and whatnot. But it's going to be their own brand. It's going to be wired. Now, this may be a good thing for some people, maybe a bad thing for some people, especially if you have pets. If you remember, if you played like PS2 or earlier game systems, you know that if you had pets, they would walk in front of your controller and yank it out of the system because, you know, they get caught on the wire, not knowing what it is, and that's might be a problem. I don't really see it as a big problem for me personally. I don't mind at all, and honestly, it'll save me from having to buy batteries, recharging all the time, and it'll really negate any latency issues that might occur. They are not only that, but they are also aiming for high compatibility with other USB controllers. So say you have a USB SNES clone pad and you want to use it, they're trying to make their software or whatever, if they're going to have like some, I don't know if they're going to have a UI, they haven't really talked about it, or if it's going to be like plug and play. They're aiming to have compatibility with like controllers like that, and other PC USB controllers. So I'm excited about that. There's going to be a lot of variety, hopefully, from what I understand in terms of controllers. So a little bit of everything for everybody. So I like that. That's a really good decision. Now let's talk a little bit about their Kickstarter and team. I'm sorry if I am slurring my words a little bit. Trying to talk quickly to fit as much information in. If their Kickstarter does well enough, they said that they might be able to get into some retail stores. It's not an 100% thing, obviously, because they aren't the retailers and they don't decide these things, but they will try to push for it if the demand is high enough. And now I see it being a more likely possibility than some of the other Android consoles that have come out because, number one, it's got local hardware that's hopefully going to be decent enough to run some games. Number two, it's got its own system, it's got its own cartridges and stuff, so it's going to have like more, it's going to need a bigger area and stuff. But I just see this happening a lot more. I mean, the Ouya was able to get onto store shelves even though they didn't sell very well. They were on store shelves for a period of time. So I do have faith that this could be on shelves sometime. If not, they did say that they will be selling everything through a website of theirs, and you'll be, buying it directly. And in order to buy games, they will be flashed to cartridge on on-demand basis. So if you buy a game, they'll flash it and then mail it to you. Now that's a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing because demand won't be as much of an issue. It's also a bad thing because it will take longer for it to get to you because they have to flash it, then ship it. So it's good and bad. I think it's going to be a little bit better than it will be worse, just because I'd prefer to be able to get any game that I want from the system rather than have to worry about shipping. Because shipping, it's going to be an issue either way because, shipping is, always hit or miss. If they're they are also talking about doing a special design version of their console for their Kickstarter. They've been throwing around the idea of a wood grain version of it. I'm not a big fan of wood grain, so I'm personally not too psyched about it, but I know some people love that wood grain design. So if that's something you're interested in, you have something to be psyched about and probably a possibility of, funding their Kickstarter with. The members of their team are really, really interesting, actually. Most of the members of their team are actually industry veterans, so that's actually really cool, and it makes me have a lot more faith. Other consoles that have started up, like Ouya and GameStick, that started up, they had no experience in the game industry whatsoever. They may have had some technological experience in, Android and stuff, but they never had any games experience, whereas these people, they have all worked with companies like Atari, Sega, Nintendo, EA and Activision, and even more than that. So they've got a lot of experience behind their belt, and that's one of the reasons I have faith that this project could come to fruition, and I'm really hoping it does. They're also the publishers of Retro Video Game Magazine, so if you're a fan of that magazine, I'm sure you know a little bit about their love for, retro games and like cartridge-based games and stuff. So you know that they really are loving what they're doing. So it's really something that you're going to want to check out. I'm sure they'll have advertisements for it in their magazine at some point when they get further along in their project too. Now let's talk about, I think, the most important part of a games console is the games. Now, I know for sure that they will have some original IPs. I actually saw there was a video, GameStar81, his game team is working on an original IP for this system, so I'm actually really excited about that. The fact that it has its own IPs means it's something worth buying, and that is the biggest thing. You need your own IPs and you need your own exclusives to sell the consoles, in my opinion. What is the point of buying a console if you can get the games other places? So I'm really happy to see that they're going with their own IPs, and hopefully they stay exclusive and don't go on other platforms like Android and stuff. But I'm really hoping that they go with lots of exclusives and stuff. Although they do have a little bit of an advantage because a lot of indie games don't have a physical version, so that's a little bit of an advantage even if their stuff doesn't stay exclusive. Now, like I just said, they have been talking with a lot of indie developers to get their games onto cartridge, which is a really good thing. The fact that they're talking to a lot of indie devs tells you that there will be a good variety of games, and they are actually trying to have a decent lineup at launch, which is always nice because I've seen some less than stellar launches in the past, PlayStation 4, but yeah. So hopefully they'll have a decent launch lineup, which I've heard that they're trying to do. They're also talking to big publishers to try to bring back 16-bit classics. Yes, this system is, I think it's mainly aimed towards 16-bit and 8-bit style games. I'm not sure if it's going to have any 3D capabilities. Like I said, I don't know much about the architectures, so if they do, I'm guessing it's going to be somewhere on the lower end of like PlayStation 1 or something, or maybe PSP style. But even if it gets to that range, I'll be super happy. 16-bit alone will be enough for me to buy it, because I love my 16-bit games, obviously. And lastly, they are aiming for one pack-in game. That is something that you just don't see anymore, and I never really realized it until they mentioned it. There hasn't been a pack-in game for like the past couple generations now. I just never realized it. I mean, Nintendo, granted, they have had a pack-in game for, I think their pack-in game was Nintendo Land and Wii Sports for the last two. So they're not really, there wasn't really full-fledged games, but they're aiming for a full-fledged game as a pack-in, which is really, really nice because you don't see that anymore. And it's just a further incentive to buy it. I think I remember reading that they're trying to aim for their price point of $180 for the system. That's the only price that I've heard them throw around. So, that is also subject to change because they don't really know what the manufacturing costs are going to be, but that's what they're trying to aim for, which is not a bad price at all, especially since it's not going to be super expensive, I don't think, for this chipset to actually, put it on the board and stuff, since it is not the newest hardware. But I'm perfectly okay with that as long as they have a good price point. Like $180 is actually a fantastic price point because it puts you at a below all your competitors, which for better or for worse, it is the Wii U, the PlayStation 4, Xbox One. It will be competing with those whether you like it or not. So $180 is not a bad price point because it is below all of the other competitors, and it's actually below some of the handhelds, which is kind of nice as well. So there's a big incentive right there, just by price point. And that's really all I had in terms of information. I'll give you my general thoughts about this entire idea now. This is the only part that's going to be unscripted. But I think this is a great idea. I love the idea of a new games console. I've really been wanting somebody to step in and just like shake things up. I've really been frustrated with modern games. I'm so sick and tired of microtransactions being in full-fledged games. I'm so sick and tired of the same rehashed stuff. And to people that say just buy the indie games, I want physical media. That's what I collect. I would love for this to happen because, I get my physical media. I don't have microtransactions. It's everything I need and everything I want. I could just see myself playing games on the system for a long time. And that's another brilliant thing about the whole flashing to the cart as they come into demand. They could potentially be selling these games well after the console has become relevant. So that also makes it so like if they stop selling the console because nobody's buying it anymore for some strange reason, which I hope never happens, can still produce the games and still produce new games. And, that's something really awesome. I mean, you see that today on some consoles like the Sega Genesis and Dreamcast, but those are really open platforms. But for it to be in-house is really nice. I'm just really looking forward. I have a lot of faith in this team. I have a lot of faith in this project. I really hope I can see this succeed. It'll be like the best birthday present ever if it succeeds, because their Kickstarter starts in my birthday month. So I'll be looking forward to that. To everybody at the Retro VGS team that maybe have watched this video, because I'm going to send it to them because being kind and whatnot. Thank you guys for letting me use your pictures. I hope you all enjoyed the video. I look forward to seeing what you guys can bring to the table, and just thanks for letting me do this, and I'll see you guys next time. If you guys have any questions or concerns about the system or anything, you just want to discuss it with me in the comment box below, please leave me a comment and I will be sure to respond to it. I will see you guys next time. I know I haven't been making a lot of videos, but I've been really busy. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time for like the last time. Peace.